Hey, welcome to Repair University OE edition. Now, if you watched our live show last week,
Love Larry's hat.
it was awesome. If you didn't, please go back and watch it. But if you did watch the live show, then we told you that we were pre-recording this show because while I love Arkansas, I can't imagine anybody that'd want to fly back a day after Christmas
I
to
didn't
prep
think
for a
that
show.
Arkansas was where I wanted to spend my vacation.
Yeah, the day after Christmas.
Yeah.
So this is a pre-recorded show. But you can still type in or text in your questions. We will be from the comfort of our own living room next week as the show airs, answering your questions, doing whatever we can. But we are not live today.
So we're not there.
We're not there.
We're not here. We're there.
We're there.
But not there.
Right, exactly.
Kind of like Spaceballs. Can we fast forward?
Who's on first? Who's on first? So, but today we're going to talk about Subaru.
Yep.
I don't want to say that I saved the best for last, but I do love Subaru. I don't drive one, but I like the company.
Because you don't live in the Northwest.
Yeah, I love the love campaign. I love that they love. I mean, it's a cool brand, and they do a lot of cool things, and they have really, really safe cars. So I thought, well, we'll just end the year.
And they wrote the book on four-wheel drive.
Exactly. Well, we're going to end the year with the love.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about the Subaru. So Mark, Subaru's kind of your specialty in a way, because I guess you're in Pacific Northwest. Is it a requirement to drive a Subaru if you live there?
I think there's more Subaru dealers than there are General Motors dealers in the Northwest.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
And then you get a lot of Subaru in New York and stuff like that, because y'all get
Upstate New York,
Yeah.
we do. I know Brian from Mid-Island Collision, he has a house up in Vermont, and he says that's all that's up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Vermont, New Hampshire is all.
Pretty
so I guess
much.
if you go to the two extremes, the northwest
Not
and
a
the
lot.
north
Not a lot
south,
call for that in Arkansas.
you know, the northeast and the northwest, I guess you're going to get a lot of those cars in those wintry areas. If you don't want a four-wheel drive, which is what everyone else drives up there, a big truck type of thing, then I guess the only alternative is some sort of Subaru that's cost-effective versus, you know, something that's all-wheel drive that might be a luxury model or something.
Well, and pretty much if there's snow and hills,
There's Subaru.
there's Subaru.
All right, so Mark, take it away. Take us through it.
Okay, great. Well, first thing we're going to do is we're going to jump into a video here real quick. And Larry is going to narrate this for us.
Just be careful with the narration.
Well, I mean, look, crash videos are important, and if you guys watch these, and I've done a few different classes on actually occupant dynamics and stuff like that, we're not going to watch where the car actually gets damaged. Let's watch everything else that occurs in this vehicle as that energy transfers through the vehicle. What's interesting to watch on this is watch the airbags, watch the windshield move, watch the occupants move inside the vehicle. Here's a good rendition of what happens to the child safety seats and the children sitting in the car. Watch the overall structure of the vehicle and how panels move as these applied impact forces travel through this vehicle. Obviously a very safe car. You can see where the airbag deployment's happening very early on. You see the rear wheels are moving forward. Look at how far those rear wheels move.
I love watching this for me, that side view where you see the gaps come together and you see them go back out.
Well, this is why it's so important when I talk about from my EME 54 theory is start on the opposite end of the damage. Every car has to be measured. I'm tired of hearing only about scanning out there. I don't know why.
I think we're over-scanning.
It's over-scanning, but no one's talking about pre-measuring the car. I mean, listen, if you don't do the first scan, at least on the second scan or the last scan, you'll catch everything that's wrong with the car.
I love on that when you watch that hole on that side impact, if you're watching that opposite pillar on the side not impacted, you see that pillar come in and you see it bow out, and you actually see the pillar go out past the doors on the side impact.
Well, look at the flexing of the windshield and the whole structure of the vehicle.
And that's part of that energy transfer, and I really think Subaru does a fantastic job of that. I mean, they have their I Lived campaign from a couple of years ago from their commercials. Subaru does a great job of energy transfer, which means if you're going to fix Subarus, you have a huge weight on your shoulders to get that car back performing like this again.
Yep.
Has some seat testing. This is what happens in a rear collision. What happens to the occupant? You can see how they twist around. You know, they're going over different panels being impacted for applied forces, what happens to them, how they react, how they move. And here's the, you know, this is really interesting. This is their
eyesight?
collision avoidance system.
Eyesight.
And, you know, this goes along with all the ADAS systems we see out there. And you can see here it's automatically stopping for the dummy walking across the street. This is why you can't use knockoff imitation parts. This is why you can't overpaint bumper covers anymore. This is the technology that we have out there that no one seems to want to understand or realize and say, well, I've never had this problem in 30. Well, 30 years ago, we didn't have this type of equipment in the car or this type of process. So I thought the idea is to show a couple of these videos starting next year with some of these vehicle manufacturers to get an idea of what they have in their vehicles and remind people what actually happens in a collision.
Yep.
Yeah, and you know, when you watch that video and you see the guy walking across the front and that car stops, how do you test for that in a collision repair facility?
You know?
You don't. It's when it drives down the road, the pedestrian jumps out, that's the test.
You got to count on the
I
manufacturers.
have a few suggestions.
Well, you got to count on the
just saying.
manufacturers, realignment or re-aiming process
Absolutely.
to be the ultimate. But I mean, there's a lot of risk there. But if you send it to the dealer does all those alignments and everything like that, and all the systems clear, you would have to assume, based on the manufacturer and the dealer's training, that it was reset to what they need.
Here's the thing about Subaru that I love, and there was an issue probably in 2016 around Subaru aftermarket parts that were meant for Subarus and them getting recalled and decertified or whatever. This particular vehicle, this brand, I think more than anything, these people buy these cars and keep them forever.
Yep.
They pass them down to the
Drive
kids
until
when
they
they turn
drop.
16. It's not uncommon to see somebody with 400,000 something miles on a Subaru. And we all know that liability follows the car, not the owner. So Bob's Body Shop may fix it for Susie this year, but 2 years later, when Tony owns that car, you're still liable to Tony.
Yep.
So if you're going to fix Subarus, whether you want to be a Subaru certified shop or not or whatever, you really had better get into their OE repair information because they have, I don't want to say over-engineered. I remember doing an interview with some people from Ford back in the 60s talking about how, I didn't do the interview in the 60s, but they were talking about the 60s, how the Lincolns were just heavily over-engineered cars for their era. And I think Subaru is a really heavily over-engineered car for safety, and I love it.
Yep.
I mean, that's probably why they call it the Love Campaign, but let's get in there.
Well, and again, like you're saying, it's really great. It's not like a throwaway car. People are going to keep that, and they're going to pass it down, and it'll be the cabin car at some point, and car's going to be on the road a long time. A lot more than some other brands.
God, that would be the life to have. Does Brian have a cabin car?
I believe he does.
I got to call him
a
after
bunch of
this.
jet skis and a bunch of snowmobiles, so we can call him and
Does he
find
pull
out.
up with a Subaru?
No, he doesn't have a Subaru that's up there, but all his friends do.
Huh, okay.
Okay, well, let's just kind of look at what's going on with Subaru as opposed to some other brands.
It's kind of shocking to see what the sales were. When I was doing some research, on my end for what, you were doing your section, I was doing my section, I was kind of surprised when I found how many Subarus are actually sold across the United States and what their ranking is amongst other vehicles that are out there. I mean, look, the Jeep Grand Cherokee, which I think everyone will say, we see it everywhere.
Yep.
Well, it's only ranked one above the Outback and the Forester.
Yep.
And now the Ford Focus, which I think every Uber driver has now.
No, it's Prius.
And the Chevy Malibu. The Chevy Malibu, really?
Yeah.
I don't understand it. And they rank higher than the Chevy Malibu and the Ford Focus.
The key to that is if you look at the year end, the percent of change year over year, those cars are declining. Subaru's on an uptick.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what we're traditionally selling in the U.S., I'd say our big three, Detroit, whatever. Subaru's on the uptake, so we're going to see them. I'm not going to see a bunch of them in Arkansas or Florida or Georgia or any of those places.
Not a Texas car.
Yeah. I'm not going to be driving Dallas next to a lot of Subarus.
No,
but
what's your alternative to a Subaru? There's only a few other cars out there that
Audi.
would be,
Yep.
an Audi, let's say.
Yep.
And the problem is, and I'll be honest with you, I have friends that live all over New York State, and I have a friend of mine who does very, very well for himself, lives up in Rochester. And I said, why don't you, I really like this car. I said, well, why don't you buy it? He says, I can't have an Audi sitting in my driveway. I said, why not? Well, my neighbors will think. So it's like it's like an opposite version of what goes on in New York, where everyone's got to drive something they can't afford.
Yep.
It's like, well, buy a Subaru. So I think it's a little bit more of a cost-effective alternative to get a really well-built vehicle with probably one of the best all-wheel drive systems out there.
yeah. All right. So
And
they're on the
bottom line
uptick.
is it's on the uptick, and so,
And it's going to keep moving up.
It's going to keep going, yeah. Okay, so we start off, anytime we do a repair, we write the estimate. Where do we go? Well, there's 3 different places we can go. We can go to the estimating systems, where it actually links with the repair information, third-party provider, or the OEM website. Let's just kind of walk through like we always do. So the first place we go is?
RTS. I
RTS.
start every day. I think every shop starts every day on the RTS portal for my car.
Yep. So we go to RTS, click in, find Subaru, click that. And then there's a whole bunch of different links that we can have in there. And pretty much every OE show, we kind of walk through these. Let's just kind of walk through a couple of them, like the calibration requirements. They pull up there. Now, what's important to look at is some of these set diagnostic trouble codes, but no lights, and different things like that. So the whole fallacy of you got to have a light on to do a scan or something like that is completely gone.
I think it's sad we still have to beat that into people's heads that every DTC is not going to set a malfunction indicator lamp, and that's the sad part, that no one seems to want to understand that.
It's almost like that ESPN thing. It's like, oh, no light, you don't have to scan? Come on, man.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, like I said, I said it, I just said it today when we were doing the live show. I got 99 problems in this industry, and scanning's not one of them right now.
No.
So, cool. I like that calibration guideline. What I like about this the most, one, it's great for estimators. They're telling you where the cameras are, the headliner roof. They're telling you this one's the headliner roof, this one's in the bumper cover on the quarter panel. So it's helping you as you write your estimates. Know where things are located and what you can and can't do, when you can and can't repair something. So, great guide.
Then we jump off. Next one, let's go to windshields, see what's going on there. And we seem to be doing a lot more in our estimating process, having to look at glass, because we've got the windshield, we've got the eyesight on the particular with Subaru. You know, what was it on that one model that there was 25 pages
Just glass.
of things you had to do when you replaced a windshield? Now, how many windshields are getting replaced with those 25 pages?
Yeah, and I would think with Subaru, with eyesight, that's a lot more. If the car's equipped with eyesight and you're working on it, you're either removing and reinstalling a piece of glass if it is able to reinstall, or you're going to put in or change a windshield. You better really pay attention.
Yep, and it's OE glass.
Yep, and this is a brand spanking new article from iCar. Mark, it's 2016. Brand spanking new.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just came out 2 years ago.
It's amazing that nobody wants to read.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's jump into some of the position statements. They don't have a ton of them. And, you know, one of the things that I say about position statements is position statements tend to have people be lazy. So I'm really glad that they don't have 25.
Right.
Let's just take some of the big ones. So in this one, like pre and post scan, there it is. You know, and again, position statements are no substitute at all for looking up the OEM information.
Right.
No, they're basically just to define or clarify something that might be in the repair procedures or something that might have changed from one model year to another. And just notify people. People think that these things are, you know, the Holy Grail or the Ark of the Covenant for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, they're great for customers.
Yeah,
That's what they're there for.
Absolutely.
Not
great for negotiation.
No.
Not great for anything else other than its information.
No.
And it does kind of point you in the direction.
Apparently, they're not even great for some OEs.
Yeah. Okay, so where do we got to go now? And we could go through all these different links here, and we've been through many of them before. But bottom line is, we're going to wind up eventually at the OEM website.
Yeah. And I will say, before we get to the Subaru iCar / statement here, this is the same as we've seen in other shows where it says iCar News. I think as this continues to evolve, the people up in Appleton they're just working their butts off on this. And as this continues to evolve, these icons will kind of change titles. But when we used to have iCar News, that's where this is. And this is going to be any article that pertains to a Subaru that iCar has ever written. So if we even go back to the iCar Advantage newsletter days or whatever, they've done a great job of gathering it all. So especially if I'm an insurer and I'm not going to get OE access, I mean, it's just not going to happen. If I had 900 estimators times X, you know, this gets me in the right direction to have the conversation I need to have with the shop, who they should have the OE information available. So.
Exactly, and then one of the things we always try and point out is, how do you use the website? Just a quick tutorial video, click it, watch it. And the website is pretty straightforward. We're going to look at it here in just a second. But one of the things that Subaru has done a really good job of, we're going to kind of go through a few different vehicles now. But basically, color-coded, very detailed.
Nice.
So now we're going to switch to the website.
BC, no repairability. It's high-strength steel. It's over 600. If that's damaged, buy it. No putting pins on it. No fixing a dent. No. If it's bent, there's no pulling it out. No straightening that.
You know, and the truth is, what do you need to know about the car you're about to work on?
Everything.
Everything. When you need to know it.
Before I tear it down.
How about now? And so what resources are available?
Like before you even like pull it in the bay.
Absolutely. I mean, we should know what it's made out of, what we can do, and all that. And I wish that the estimating systems would get smart when you put down to repair a pillar, and it goes, wait a minute, it's not repairable.
Right.
We're not there yet, but certainly that'd be nice.
What was that show? Was it the clown that used to come out and bop people on the head?
You're talking about Homie the Clown?
Yeah.
Really?
Could
Are you bringing up Homie the Clown?
Could we develop an estimating system that comes with a homie that just comes
pops
out
out
and
and goes
smacks you
whack.
on the head? I mean, that would be.
I think the Wayans brothers might have an issue with that.
I think we should make a video. Yeah, we're gonna make a video. Okay.
Okay, so very simple. If we go to here, iCar, OEM information, and again, we're going to start doing more of our OE shows just live like this.
But,
Just like, you know, we can talk about it all we want, but this is how it clicks
yeah.
and this is how it works.
If we have a problem, we're just gonna get to witness it.
Yep.
So,
Yep. Okay, so we go to Subaru. There it is. I go to the repair website. There it is. Okay, now that I've gotten to here, one of the things that it says very clearly in the top is this site is optimized for Internet Explorer. We highly recommend using Internet Explorer 11, and it just disappeared. And I was using Internet Explorer not 11 yesterday.
not 11. What version were you on, Mark?
I don't know. It was
Okay.
something not 11.
It was not 11.
And when I was pulling up the documents, it just wasn't loading.
Yeah, it would only load the first page.
It
for
load
you,
the first
your
page
index.
and everything else was
Everything else
gone.
was blank.
And then I read the instructions and I put in 11 and oh my gosh, there it went, you know. So critical, so if you're, you know, a Chrome fan or a Mozilla fan or whatever, you want to get Internet Explorer 11. Okay? So then we have two choices. If you already have a password, great, you can jump in. But you then, if you don't have that, you got to purchase a subscription. So
Wow.
to log in,
Wait, I gotta buy it?
yeah,
Wait, I had to read first.
yeah.
Can someone read it for me?
$2,500 for a year. Is that probably one of the highest OEs we've looked at all year?
No, $2,500 a year is not. 25,000 would be high, but not 2,500.
Who was the highest so far? Was it Mercedes?
I think Mercedes might have been
Yeah.
one of the Mercedes
Okay.
or Audi might have been the highest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's kind of in the range, you know.
Your range, maybe,
Kind
not
of-
my
well,
range.
I'm just saying in the range of the OEs. And so
I
in
drive
here-
a Chevy, remember?
in here, yeah. So in here, all you do is you just enter your name and all that stuff. It'll actually verify your address. You didn't put in 123 Main Street,
Okay.
and so they kind of are semi-verifying it's you. And then you pick your subscription and away you go.
It would be $6.85 a day, which a lot of the other ones were anywhere between $4 to $5.50 a
So it
day.
is higher.
So it's a little bit higher.
it's higher.
But no.
So I was right.
No, Benz and Audi, I think, were closer to like the $9 range per day.
Okay.
Still not bad.
Yeah.
I mean, $6,
Okay,
like $7
so we
a
enter our
day.
password, and we come into this screen right here. Now this screen is pretty awesome because there's a number of things to look at. So there's basically 4 areas. This is kind of just the first screen that's going to pop up. So right here this is what's new. Now we could click and show more, but this is what's new. You can see what's new: December 14th, December 14th, December 13th, 13th, 12th. There's just new stuff coming out all the time. Okay. We can also jump over here. We're going to show you how to use the quick reference search here. But after you've done searches, it'll also show you what you recently viewed. So if you pulled up for a Legacy or a BRZ or whatever it is, it's going to be right there. And then sometimes if you say, wait a minute, I want to save that because I'm going to go back to that later on, you can also click the star, and the star will pull it over into your saved reference links. So now you got a saved reference link sitting here, so you can go back and review it whenever you want.
Okay,
Okay.
so I'm fixing the same thing over and over.
Yeah, if you are. Okay.
One thing I love about this that we don't think we've talked about for any of the OEMs yet, but obviously this is an accessory guide. This is going to be a trailer package on a Forester.
Yep.
So when you're in the collision repair industry, we sometimes think that trailer packages and all that's kind of an aftermarket thing, and we just do what we want to do. But the reason that an OE may change the accessory install guideline is because they've been aware that maybe that bolt wasn't in the right place. So
Yep.
before I go in and reinstall, I don't want to assume that I am reinstalling that accessory the same way, and
Right.
they
Well,
always
you
they
can
put
change the
the-
crash parameters of how the vehicle's intended to
Yeah.
We saw that
manage
years
that
ago.
collision energy by
with
doing
Chevy
that.
trucks,
Yeah,
right?
Jeep, same thing.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
how they put that trailer package in and just folded those rolls in half.
Yeah, so that's so in there is what's new, and again, you can spend a lot of time. Now, one of the things about this website, there's a lot of reference material. You can go in, and there's a lot of things to learn about a Subaru, even if you're not fixing a Subaru.
Yeah.
So it's a great resource.
Yeah.
Okay,
and we
now
could be here for hours.
we could. We could. Okay, so now on the top left, we'll just go up to
but
information
I want to
here.
eat. So I'm just saying.
Okay, so if we go up to the top left, there's there's basically 3 links until you save something, and then if you do, then there's 4. So what's new falls into here, so we can click that and find out what's new. And when we do that, it's going to pull up into a whole, it's going to load, and it's going to give a lot of them. Okay, so if I go back to the home's kind of your cheat sheet for those 4. Okay, so then another one here, you can jump into special tool information. This talks pretty much about the scanning and different tools and et cetera that they
More
talk about.
mechanical. So when we say
More
special
mechanical
tools,
type
it's
stuff.
more mechanical than we're talking about. What welder do I need to do the repair?
Yep.
Got it.
Exactly. Now, there's 2 other areas here. One's the online reference, and one is the service diagnostics, and they're different. So if I go to online reference, now I have a choice. And right here I could put the VIN in, or if I don't want to put the VIN in, I could actually go by model. Now, if at all possible, we always want to put a VIN in,
Always.
if possible. Okay, so I happen to have an extra VIN here. So I put a VIN in, and then I want to look up the VIN. It's going to tell me whether it's a valid VIN or not, and it is. It's in a 2017 Subaru Legacy. It's a pretty standard car. Most shops are going to wind up getting that. And then off to the left here, I've got all kinds of choices on what do I want to pull up about that Subaru. Now, the most obvious one is we want the service manual, but there's all kinds of other information in there. If you click all those boxes, you're going to get hundreds of documents.
So with Subaru being all-wheel drive, there's
Yep.
some tire requirements around Subaru that potentially affect collision
Yeah.
repairs, correct?
Yep.
So if I want tire information, probably in the owner's manual?
Yep,
Got it.
absolutely.
So if I was writing an estimate and I knew already I had a tire impacted, I'm going to want to click that.
Yep,
If I had a tow package, I'm probably going to want to click that.
yep.
Got it.
Yep, so there's, but it's all right there. I got the VIN decoded, and I've got all my choices off to the left. So if I just click service manual, and I click search, and there it is. So I got the service, I got the body repair manual, and I got the service manual. So now, 2 choices I have. One is I can save it by clicking the star, or I can actually click the download arrow, and it's going to pull it up.
Okay.
Now, when I click the download arrow, it's going to pull it up. And one of the things, and for the space of this show, when it pulls up, it's going to pull up about 400 pages.
Nice.
So, for the sake of the show, and you can see it's loading right here, and this is on Wi-Fi, but for the sake of the show, what we're going to do is we're just going to pull up one that I actually saved.
Bam.
Okay, so
Make it a
this is
little
actually a PDF that I loaded into my computer. Now this is pretty cool. So you know how a lot of the manufacturers have where, you know, this is where we're going to section it. Oh, do you want to know about corrosion protection? We have to go off and find that document someplace. And then we need to know about, you know, seam sealing or what kind of equipment or how do we do welds and symbols. Subaru puts every one of them in every single one of the procedures. So when I pull up for a Legacy, it's going to pull up and tell me all those different things.
Now the only thing it's not going to tell me then would be the mechanical, like what scanning and other things,
Yep.
because that's in
And
a
that's why
different
you got to go to
manual.
the mechanical
So we're going to
section.
go to that.
Okay.
So that's the other part. But if I look at it here, off to my left, I've got this little menu, if you will.
Okay.
Okay. So and then the other thing that's cool about this is every one of these in here. I know they're not highlighted. Every one of those is a hyperlink.
It's similar to how Irwin is
Yep.
set up for Audi and for Volkswagen.
Yeah. So if I wanted to go into panel components, I would just click that, and away I go. I can also jump into what the forward is now. So I can navigate it 2 different ways. Actually, there's 3 different ways to navigate it. The other one I can put in is I can go up here and say, I'm going to put in wax. Okay, so the first thing it's going to do is going to talk about every place in the document with a word search that says where wax actually shows up.
Oh wait, this isn't how to wax your car.
No,
Oh.
this is a cavity wax.
Not wax on, wax off.
Yeah, so
This is spray the wax.
So if you start to look, and now it's going to go hit every place that says wax all the way through in here. So where are you going to wax around the hinges? You're going to wax all the different areas, okay? So now, if I go into the forward though, this is kind of like, remember on the BMW show where they had the, how many page document was that when it came out in the beginning?
Like 70-something for Audi, Volkswagen.
Or was that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they put, almost the first 50 pages of this repair procedures for the Subaru Legacy, and you notice it's 322 pages. The first 50
I'm
pages.
not printing that.
Huh?
I'm not printing that.
No, but the first 50 pages of this is what Subaru wants. So in this case, they're starting to talk about what do the symbols mean. And then if I just kind of walk down, we start talking about removal direction of damage, number of panels to be drilled. Now, one of the things we talked about is in doing weld tests. If we've got 2 panels and we got another one that's 3 panels, how many weld test setups do we have to do to properly weld that car?
Each time,
Each
each
time.
section, each area, yeah.
And what kind of steel is it? So we're able to get all this information in here. So basically, they talk about what kind of welds, what do the weld symbols actually mean. In fact, we're looking right here. If it's just that, it is 2 panels. And if you've got a dot with a circle around it, it's 3 or more. So when we get into the repair procedures, we'll be able to take a look at that. And then if we keep coming down here, and here's one of the things I wanted to know. So they talk about what type of amperage do you need, and et cetera, and the pressure at your tips to weld the car together. And I highlighted this right here. For new spot welding, avoid previously welded locations.
I mean, I can't just weld over some
No.
sort of weld, because I was real careful, Mark. I took the panel off from the backside,
I got it.
Eh.
And you can't weld it there, according to Subaru.
but it's got a little divot in it. It
I
tells
got
me
it.
it helps
Probably
my
the
guy
easy spot to even count.
line it up.
No, you put a little body filler on the flanges, so that'll hide everything. And then you take a pencil and you run back over the body filler. It looks like you did it.
When the primer's wet.
Well, the problem is what, yeah.
Yeah, forget the body filler. That's too complicated. But they're very
wasted
particular.
material.
But they're very particular about it. And also when we come down, if we're going to do our plug welds, they talk about what size, depending on what size steel do we actually have, what size of the plug welds are we going to actually have. So again, very, very technical. And this is just in the legacy. Now, if we jumped over to the another platform, it's going to have the same stuff.
Go to the next page for a second. There's something
Wait.
interesting here, too.
Shape correction by heating shall not be done. That was interesting.
Here's what we've talked about before, and we got a really good picture of it. This is the construction of certain areas on the vehicle, where they're laying out A, B, C, D, E. You can see here where certain areas, you can see the reinforcement is almost directly pressed up against
Yep.
the outer panel, or there's foam injection in these areas, and you'll see these pictures and in not only the foam areas but also in the cross sections of the structure. So you can see where a rocker panel will have foam and a rocker panel has an inner reinforcement that's pressed up against it.
Yep.
So if you have a significant amount of damage to the outer panel,
Yep.
you know the inner panel's damaged and you're going to be changing both. Nothing worse than getting the outer panel off
And going, oh shoot, there's a dent.
and then find out, well, not only that, but also
Yeah.
find out that the B pillar and the A pillar reinforcements overlap the rocker.
Yep.
And to change the rocker reinforcement, I got to change the A pillar and the B pillar. Now I got an issue here.
Yeah.
There's
so,
a lot of
so
stuff.
our
in
$10,000 job became 20 real
and
fast.
we could have found this out how? By going
By
into
going
the
right through here.
manual. And once again, there'll be a similar picture for this in the structure
Yep.
area that will tell you the cross sections of parts.
Yep. So again, we can jump through here and get all that information. And again, this is specific to the model that we're playing
Right.
with. So this is not a BRZ. This is a legacy. And so as we're going through, they start talking about reinforcing body parts, and then where do all the components go? What is it made out of? All the different parts of the vehicle. Now you got to get. I'm on page number 14. I can go to page 50 and still be in how this car is built and how to fix it. Not where do you section it or anything like that. So there's just a plethora of information. You know,
Well,
clearly,
I mean, a good point to make, Mark, is if you are a shop or a technician who only goes to try to look for data when you have to replace something,
Yeah.
like a quarter or something you think you're going to section on, my Lord, what you're missing.
yeah.
And you're not
absolutely.
fixing cars right. If that's your key, your trigger is, oh, I got to cut something off, I better go look at a procedure, you've already
You
lost.
missed it. Yeah. Yeah, and one of the things that we hear a lot from technicians online and et cetera is, can you send me the procedure for sectioning the rail on that? Well, wait a minute. That is a small piece of the repair process. And if somebody actually does a screenshot of something and sends it to them,
You're still going to get it wrong.
you're going to get it wrong.
Yeah.
Even though you did some due diligence to get some information, you don't got it all.
Yeah. And if I'm the one sending you that, I'm not helping you.
No.
I'm hurting you. I'm also potentially endangering a customer.
Yep. You know, I don't know about legal level, but are you liable if you give somebody information and you're trying to help them? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not a lawyer. I can't
Yeah.
answer that,
But that's why I refuse to give anybody information.
Yeah.
I'll tell you where it's at. Go look it up yourself.
So while you guys are kind of talking there, I'm just going to kind of scroll just to so you kind of see. Now,
Yeah.
now they started to color code some of the parts as well. And those, you got a dent in that,
It's gone.
it's gone. You're not fixing it. Be nice to know that when you're writing the estimate.
You're not pulling it either. I think it's the other thing that we get wrong. I think because you don't see a lot of these cars out there, what I typically see wrong most on Subarus is trying to make structural corrections to parts you can't correct.
Right.
You can't. You're not pulling that. I
No.
don't care if you think it's only 6 millimeters off or whatever. Cut it off
Yep.
and put a new one on. There's no
Starting
straightening
over.
it.
Yep. Yeah, and that's, so when do you need to know this information is when you write the estimate.
Before the
So
car
this has
comes in
got
the
to be,
shop. Yeah.
this has got to be in the blueprinting stage where we're getting all this information
Yep.
and pulling it up. Okay, so then, so structure of the parts, panel components, galvanized sheet metal. So you start to see where we can walk down or we can just scroll through all the information. Body construction, how's it made? How often do we see where somebody says, can you
And
get,
there's the cross-section stuff I was telling you
Yep.
about.
Yep.
yep,
What's back there?
Yeah,
Huh?
what's inside, what's over here, what's over there. This tells you a really good, idea of what's going on with,
Yep.
with
Yeah.
the sections of the vehicle.
so you can see they have gone to an extreme to make sure all the information that you need to fix the car
Yeah.
is here.
That's one of the things I think that amuses me the most online. Somebody will post something like they're fixing a dent on a quarter panel or whatever, and we're like, nope, got to cut it off because
Yep.
of what's damaged. How do you know what's damaged behind there?
It's pushed in an inch.
I've looked here.
Yeah.
You should too. So
Yeah, so then we got body reference points. We can go crazy. Measurement for combined parts. Okay, finally we got to panel replacement.
Oh, boy.
we're on page 54.
54, we finally got done with how to fix the car. Now we can actually go into panel replacements. And you start to look at these and see the one that's got the circle. You got the circle, or the dot with the circle around it. That's going to be two or more panels.
Correct.
And the one here, these are going to be single panels.
Correct.
Right.
And then when you start to look here, the square, if you actually went back to the information,
Mag weld.
that's a bolt actually.
Oh, it's a bolt, okay.
So the square that's not filled in is a bolt. The square that is filled in solid red is a mag weld.
Now, Mark, from our squeeze type resistant spot welding show earlier in the
Yep,
year,
yep.
that's one that did not get me a legal letter. So can I just drag my smart welder over to the
No.
car and do all, what's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all 6 of those welds?
No,
Nope.
I can't?
got to do weld test.
It's a smart welder.
I
It's
got
got to
it.
know how many materials it's
It
going
is
through.
very smart to the point that it knows what the amperage that's going through the tips. It doesn't know the condition of the tips, and therefore you have to do a weld test on every car, even though it's a smart welder. And they'll basically give you a printout saying all the welds have the proper amperage. That doesn't mean you have a good weld.
Yeah.
And we've seen many times where people will be actually setting the welder up and checking it, and they'll go for the destructive test,
And it'll fail.
and it'll fail.
Yeah.
Even
But
though
I
the
had a
welder said it
report
was
that had
good.
all green checks.
No.
Yeah,
Ah,
yeah.
Nope.
okay.
Nope.
You
So
know-
especially on a car, something as simple as a radiator support panel here, I have 2 different types of spot welds I'm
Yep.
going to have to do.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
just as clean as you have to have the panels for bonding, or weld bonding, or rivet bonding. You
And
have to have
Subaru
panels
has that too.
Right.
Just as clean
Right.
to do any type of
Not
welding.
just the panel I'm installing, but the panels that it's going to go to.
Yes.
Both sides of that.
Yep.
Wow.
4 sides actually, the
Yeah.
insides and the outsides of both panels. So you got minimum 4 panels.
Yep.
Sometimes you could have more.
Right. So as an estimator right now, I know I'm going to have 2 setups,
Two
2
minimum
test
2
wells,
setup welders, welder setups.
2 tests,
Yep.
2 destructive tests.
Yep.
I'm going to have probably 6, 12 points of panel preparation. So if that's 0.1 apiece or whatever we want to do
Yeah,
to that.
yeah.
Wow. Good information just right here.
Yeah.
That's probably what another, God, probably what do we got there? Maybe 5, 6 hours on the estimate, maybe.
For burn damage
Yeah.
to the components. Listen, I make an argument that the motor's got to come out to paint the rails properly.
Yeah.
Well,
because you're getting damaged.
And one of the things that Subaru does say is that when you do that weld, on the back side, you're going to have weld damage, and that has to be refinished.
Yep. And I'll tell you right now, one of my Larry and I will, at some point in 2019, release our negotiating, kind of how we do it, his version versus my version or
Yeah.
I But I always tell shops over and over, stop arguing over price and labor hours
Right.
and just start discussing scope.
Yep.
And these are the most amazing documents for that because I can lay them out and go, how many welds do you see?
Yep.
How many different types of welds do you see? How many panels do you see that I'm going to be touching?
Yep.
Okay, let's agree on the scope.
Yep.
We can argue time later.
Yeah.
I mean, and just figure
Time
out
and
what
labor
this-
rate later.
Yeah.
Let's deal with what we got to do. Yeah, and Subaru actually says in their documents saying that
Yeah.
you must refinish the backside,
Yeah,
which
but too many
means
shops go to the
you're not just
estimating system,
undercoating.
and we're trying to argue and negotiate from the estimating system. Screw
Yeah.
that. Go here.
Yep. Okay, so, and I could go all the way down all these different things, but the easiest way to get to where I want to go here is if I just go to the body repair manual and just go to my reference. Let's just say I wanted to go to a quarter panel. So quarter panel replacement.
Hey, Mark.
Here we go.
I'm going to offer a suggestion. Go
Yeah.
back to this right here.
Yeah.
I spent my entire life with my dad making fun of me because my public relations degree was a BS, a Bachelor of Science. So,
Sure it was.
yeah, I'm going to say maybe we rethink that. I'm just.
That's the bake. It's a Subaru body code. I can't change it. Just saying, that's I pulled it off the website. I don't know if they want to change it based on your comment, but basically, so now if we come down and we go to, let's just say a quarter panel parts replacement, including rear pillar sedan, there it is. Now, what's nice about this is they're very specific where to put them, and then if we go to number 3 here, it says right there, there's 7 welds that we're going to put in between this weld and this area.
As
We're gonna
opposed to Mercedes-Benz that we have to actually count the amount of welds. This is giving you, like a lot of the Asian companies, giving you an area
Yep.
and telling you how many welds are in
You got
that
to have 7
particular
welds
area.
in that area, but these other ones have to be placed, and you can see clearly there's more than 1 layer of steel there.
Uh-huh.
So that's
And
got to
isn't
be
that
the
a
weld,
full
and then we
weld?
got another weld next to it, and then 7 in between.
Wait, don't we have 2 multiple layers, and it's a little hard to see here, but isn't that a square in between the 2 multiple layers, or no?
I don't know. I think it's
The
all
two, the
spots.
2 circles with the rounds on it. What's in
Well,
between?
that's triple layer.
Right,
So it's
and then
1
what's the
dot
one
and
right
2
there in the
more,
middle?
and that's double layer, and then that's single layer.
Right, but the one in the middle here between the 2 multi-layers.
It's a spot weld. It's a single.
Oh,
Right
it's a
here.
single. Okay, no,
Yeah.
it's a little bit like a square for me. I was just wondering
Yeah.
if they had that for a reason.
And that's a mag weld.
Okay, that is a mag weld there.
That's
okay.
that square's a mag weld, and then spot weld, and 3 layers there. So how
Obviously,
many?
it must be because the arms can't reach.
So that's 4.
In there.
That's 4.
4
Because
both
I've got a single layer, a double layer, 3 layers for my spot, and I've got a mag.
Plus my second
break-
joint.
that- have a
I got
brace?
question. How come they want you to make a squiggly cut on that? I'm just wondering.
Because it goes
Why is it
together.
squiggly?
goes
Do I take the saw and go like this with it?
No, it goes together nicer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it fits more like a puzzle.
Oh. So kind of like doing the dovetail, like we're doing woodworking?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the removal, and then
I'm
they also
joking,
go to the
guys. Don't take
installation.
this seriously.
I totally want to see
Obviously,
some.
take the saw and...
Yeah.
So you kind of get the idea. Here's the installation. They want you to put it back. Don't go back in the same area. How many different welds are we going to do? Some of them and some of the procedures they have are going to be weld bonding. So they get very specific about that on where you do the mag weld, where you do the squeeze type weld, etc. And again, if you're going to do a mag weld or a squeeze type weld, and the procedure is to do it through adhesive, do we have to do a weld test for that too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So
Well, and I'm
we
going to go
might-
back as the estimator now. I've got to go back and go, wait, this procedure is going to call for 3 layers, which is going to change the pressure
Yep.
requirement. Does
Yep.
my welder even meet that requirement? So just because I have a spot welder
Yep.
doesn't mean I can do spot welding.
Yep.
So now I've got to go back and check some pressure requirements, make sure I'm at Subaru's minimum.
Yep.
I may have to pass on this car. Maybe I don't have the latest model of whatever that
Yep.
has the right pressure tips
Yeah, but
or whatever.
Subaru's being unfair. They want you to read, and then they want you to do math. We
Yeah.
haven't even, we can't get anyone to read. Now we want them to do math
Well,
also.
and the pressure at the tips, and it's in the specs, but the pressure at the tips they want is, I think it's like 1,011 PSI at the tips. Many of the welders on the market today do not meet that.
Nope.
But there's also...
Some do, but not some of them don't.
None of them are giving you the pressure that's at the tips.
Mm-hmm.
You have to buy a separate gauge, and I'll be honest with
Yep.
you, I have one of the gauges. It's a Tuffalo gauge, and
Yep.
it's not cheap.
Yep.
It's about $2,500 for this gauge,
Yep.
and it actually checks the pressure and tells you how much pressure is at the tips.
But because you have a spot welder or you bought a used one from somebody doesn't
Yep.
mean that you now are capable of fixing
Nope.
not just this car, but Honda has 1,500. And I think if we go back to what we were saying, I can't spot weld over old spot welds.
Right.
Okay? So this doesn't even matter how I feel about parts, used or aftermarket. My
matter.
opinion doesn't matter on parts. Now I come straight to the engineering data. I can't spot weld over an existing spot weld.
Right.
Check. Right? Now I've got all these requirements on where the welds have to go.
Yep.
Check. It's not because of this panel. It's because of the panels it's attaching to.
Exactly.
Honda did a great job of explaining that to us earlier this year. Hey,
Yep.
I'm not worried about this mild steel exterior quarter panel, but you're welding to
High-strength steel
1500
and not at the end. Yep.
behind it, and that's what's
Right.
keeping my occupant together. So no, you can't mag plug weld here because that's 1500 behind
Right.
it. So when I do all of that, I can't in my life fathom how you would ever put a used welded component on a Subaru.
Pretty tough.
Unless you're just going to throw out the engineering and go, screw it, we'll just take our chances.
But then you're on your own, and what we're saying is this is how you fix the car.
Right.
This is the standard of how you
Right.
fix the car.
Which again, I don't argue from position statements. I don't negotiate from the estimating system. We're here discussing scope.
Yep.
Well,
exactly.
if you're fixing a WRX, the standard's different than on this car.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a different vehicle.
Yeah, it's a different car, and a BRZ is a different
And
car.
it actually gets harder.
Okay, so now I'm going to just pull this up, and we'll just kind of look at some of the other stuff that's in here. So we did the panel replacement. That's where most people, when they're going, oh, I need this sectioning for the quarter.
Yep.
This is what they're looking for. But then body sealing, and they're very specific about where they tell you to actually do the sealing all over the car.
It's not caulk?
No.
We don't use the stuff that we use in the bathroom? We don't go to Lowe's or Home Depot and buy caulking? I hate that on an estimate. Caulking. I'm gonna put a bathtub in the trunk.
Well, yesterday we saw one that had butyl tape on it, and we were
Yep.
confused.
Where do we use butyl anymore? We don't.
No.
We don't. And then this one here, just like many of the other manufacturers, are talking about seam sealing on the underside of the parts, inside, outside, as they come in. Okay, now one of our favorite things from the
Earlier,
corrosion protection,
Yeah.
wax. So what are they saying? They're saying we got to put it in here. They're very specific about how much, where, and everything that it
To
should
be filled into the filled.
Well,
Pile it on.
look at how far up it comes on the back,
Oh, yeah.
door curve or
Mm-hmm.
door arch with like the dog leg area of the quarter panel. Look at how far up it comes on that rear door. Look, even the trunk lid
Yep.
or the deck lid at the bottom of it gets a bunch of this stuff piled in at the very, very bottom of it just to make sure that water, when it does flow through, doesn't lay there and cascades out through the drain
Yep.
holes.
So one of the things that we got to think about, and not like it makes a difference for any vehicle, but what's the chances that, okay, we're talking Subaru, what's the chances that the Subaru is going to wind up in the snow?
Like 10%.
It's probably going to happen.
I don't think you see many in Arizona.
No.
Yeah.
So it's probably going to be in the snow, and then many states actually salt the roads.
Yeah.
So we're going to wind up getting highly corrosive stuff into these areas by just design of who's buying the car. So, you might be fixing a Subaru in Arizona, and you're like, well, it really doesn't rain here. Who cares? It's going to wind up in the mountains. It's going to wind up, and that's why this stuff is so critical.
Very important.
Okay, then undercoating on top of that. Now, this is not the rattle can, blast it and go.
Well, this is stuff that dries.
This is the stuff that actually dries, and they're very specific about that. Then we got the dampening that goes on, all kinds of different insulators.
Go back to the dampening.
Huh?
Go back to dampening.
Yep. Q-pads.
Yeah, I mean, I like their placement for the roof,
Yeah.
what they're doing there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, they're very, very specific about it. You got to there's 322 pages here. Now, we can't go through all those.
Right.
But here's
And
just
I
some
think
of the highlights.
Some of the misconceptions about an OE show is this isn't let's turn on a show and tell you all the little gotchas
No way.
that you need to know about each OEM. Did you know that they make you do blah, blah, blah? Because it's different with every car.
Yep.
So I
Right.
could give you a gotcha
Yep.
for a Forester and it's not a gotcha for an Outback.
Right. That's why
So-
it's important to really the first 50 pages are the most important part.
Yep.
Because they're probably all similar amongst the same vehicles.
Right.
Or across the OEMs, they're very similar. A lot of the information we saw on this, we saw in Benz, we saw in Volkswagen,
Yeah.
I've seen in Porsche. Benz is a little bit different because Benz has everything broken up differently. But these PDF type versions, they're very similar. Their first few pages
Yep.
across
Well,
the,
if I was going in for a heart transplant, the transplant machine probably has a manual that's probably more than 322 pages.
Yes.
And I'm going to want to make sure that the person running that transplant machine has
Knows
read
what it says.
every page of
Yep.
that manual.
Exactly.
So it's not wrong for a customer to expect that if you're going to fix their car, if you're going to
Right.
fix their Legacy, you have read these 322 pages.
Yeah, and you don't have to read all 322 because some of it's going to be for the core
No, you
support
should
when you're
read
putting a
all
quarter on. Well, I mean, I don't need to read the core support
Right,
stuff if I'm
yeah.
just putting a quarter panel on, but certainly the stuff that is before and after the sections. So if we look
Skim
here,
through
Right.
it.
And I will say this is why, I mean,
you got to
so-
read every section here except
Yeah.
number 8, And number 8 gets specific to the parts, but the stuff before and after,
Right.
you got to read.
And this is why I've been very critical of estimating systems that have repair procedures in them because they're an ask and response based system. So I replace the quarter panel, it serves me quarter panel procedures.
Yep.
But here are 5 more sections I need to go into, and that OE's not that.
Well, that's why I'm not a
estimating system's
proponent of
yeah.
having the estimating system type stuff. I mean, it's good for a quick reference for an estimator, but you usually have to be in the estimate itself to access some of that information or that part of the vehicle.
Yep.
Look, there's no excuse not to have either one computer in the shop or each technician has a computer at their station. If you don't have the money for it, maybe you need to close your business and go open something else.
Yep.
Okay, plain and
Yeah,
simple.
I mean, it's a life and death situation, and that's the thing about if you're just relying on an estimating system. And we talked earlier about the 3 different ways to go get OE information.
Yep.
If you're just relying on probably one of those, that's not the OE, you're missing something.
Yep.
So, I mean, while it's a guide, if you're writing an estimate and only using that, you're missing a lot. And then
Yep.
if the technician doesn't know to go back and review these 5 sections as well, then you're not fixing the car right.
Yep.
So I'm glad that you clicked replace quarter panel and it gave you the quarter panel procedures, but I've got 9 other things. Like I
Yep.
said, there's 99 problems in this industry and that ain't one of them right now.
Well, and that's
So-
and we watched the video in the beginning. Car's driving down the road and there's a pedestrian walking across, and all you did was replace the grill on the car. So we don't need to look that up, right?
Oh.
Or maybe you do.
Well, you need to know,
And
is
you
there
should.
a camera in the grill
I
or
don't
is
know.
it up in the glass?
But how are you going to know?
Or can I
You
put an
gotta look-
aftermarket?
you gotta go
look it up.
read.
You got to look it up.
But nobody wants to read, and this is
The insulting issues, and this is the arguments I get into a lot of times. Oh, well, you're not teaching or helping. Yeah, I am teaching. Go read. What do you want me to do? Read it for you? You know, matter of fact, I'll fly out to your shop and I'll do it for you.
No, we're going to do that special
much would
show,
that
which
cost?
is Larry
A lot.
reads the P pages.
Oh, no, because I'm only in it for the money.
Well, if you will just, I mean, like, I need a price for you to fly out and read somebody the manual because I will come film that.
That'd be great.
It would be great.
Just have him sit down and just read it to him.
Larry
Just
on a
read it to 'em.
mechanic stool sitting
Well,
next to the technician.
I'm only doing this for the money.
reading.
That's the whole thing. I
Yeah.
don't do anything for free.
Okay, then plastic identification, etc. So you guys kind of get the
can't you
idea.
do the knock test for the plastic identification?
No, that's for aluminum.
Oh, it's only for aluminum.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah. So you get that there's a lot of information in here.
Right.
322 pages. We're going to read most of it. I mean, I don't need the core support when I'm putting a quarter panel on and all that. Okay, but that is that part of it. Now I'm going to go back to here, not to there. I'm going to go to the Subaru Technical, back to where we kind of started before we went in.
Okay.
Because I want to also go to the service diagnostics. Because if I'm going to put a headlight in the car, I got to know how to aim it. Now, I know the thing, it was just point and click, and it popped up, said aim headlights.
Point 4.
But what does that look like? Well, so let's go to the legacy that we're doing here.
Okay.
And then it's going to let me cheat here a little bit. So I'm going to go to my index, and I like having things that cheat. So all I got to do is just pop in and just go to
Except
H.
for spouses.
Yeah, yeah, except for spouses, obviously. Love you, Spring. But if you look right here, we've got the headlights.
Yep.
So now I'm just going to go to adjustment for headlights. Now, how many people are looking up the headlight adjustments for their technicians so they know exactly what to
Almost done.
Nobody.
do? Okay. So let's just
Same
look
amount
for
of people that are checking seatbelts.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and what did Subaru say? They said that even a slight collision requires a seatbelt check. What's a slight collision? That's a
Pothole.
scratch, isn't it?
That's like pothole.
Pothole,
yeah.
anything. So
Yeah.
every car, every time, we're going to check seatbelts. Okay, so let's just look at this real quick. So it says right here, turn off the light before adjusting the headlight. It's necessary to inspect the beam level. Don't keep the light on for 2 minutes or more. When blocking the light emitted from the headlight, use a light shield or equivalent. Well, you got a light shield?
Yeah,
I
the
have a
wall.
lightsaber.
We've got to
The
figure out
wall.
what that is.
Okay.
Okay. Don't apply tape on the lens or place a cloth over it because that could raise the temperature of the light. And then right here, check around the headlight for any scratches. The vehicle's got to be on a level surface. Inflation of the tires is correct. Vehicles have no load, so there can't be stuff in the trunk. Got to have a full tank
Okay,
of
no one
gas.
could be sitting in there, and it's got to have a full tank of gas.
Yeah. So you can see that there's a lot more to it, and a lot of manufacturers have this, but unless you're actually pulling the instructions on how to do it.
Okay, hold on. Bounce the vehicle several times to normalize the suspension.
Yeah.
This one's better than the Ford where I had to get 4 guys in the car and drive 11 miles an hour and hit the brakes.
Well, once again, I mean, this is the
This is just
problem.
headlights.
Nobody wants to do. You know,
Make certain
99% of the
someone's in the
shops out there are
driver's
just
seat.
throwing the light in the car. They're not even checking the light because it's automatically
Yeah.
set, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I got to have one guy bouncing the bumper while one guy's sitting in the driver's seat. That's
Yep.
2 guys. My 0.4 just went up.
Well, and plus you had to check the air pressure. You had to make sure
Yeah.
that a full tank of gas. Now, when you need to know this, well, when the customer brings in the car, it's like, well, no, Mrs. Smith, you only have half a tank of gas. Will you go fill up your tank for me? That's probably a conversation you want to have with them before they drop their car
Heck,
off.
I'm putting a fuel charge on the estimate. Come on.
Yeah. So a lot of information in here, and like I said, in this website, there is just so much information. We could just get lost. But we know we got to aim the headlights. We know there's a procedure for it. If you took the car to the dealer, this is the procedure they're going to follow.
Hopefully.
Well, are we going to? But are we going to follow it any different?
No, we're going to do it.
We have to do it this
Right.
way. Now, with the headlights, and I don't know specifically about Subaru, but anytime that they can stack technology. So if the headlight aim could possibly be part of the ADAS system where the headlight aims,
Sure it is. I mean, the
all of a
camera has to
sudden now,
see.
that if
So
we
it's
don't
called
follow
eyesight.
this,
It's called eyesight for a reason.
Yeah,
It has to see.
absolutely.
So to see at night, it's going to need light.
right,
Yeah.
which means that if we don't aim the headlights correctly as it relates to the camera in the windshield, then that guy walking across the street
Yep.
gets run over, and then who's liable
Yep.
for that?
We've talked about this all year. There's nothing on a car that stands alone.
Nope.
So if somebody comes in and tells you it's just a fender, or it's
Yep.
just a bumper, or it's whatever, all vehicles today are a series of dominoes.
Yep.
They all panels work together. Everything talks to each other, and you mess up one thing, it's got a catastrophic waterfall effect to everything else.
Yep. Now you notice I put headlight in, and if I and look at all the different things on the left-hand side, all that stuff that I can look up about a headlight. I just picked aiming.
Yep.
I just picked adjustment.
Rear height sensor. No, it's like a rabbit hole. I mean, it is. You get going on this thing, and you go all the way down the rabbit hole, and that's why, like I said, if we did a show that was trying to tell you the gotchas of every car, we'd
Yeah.
steer you wrong because you'd focus on those gotchas.
Yep.
You'd go out to your next Subaru and go, oh, I remember Mark said that windshield visors aren't reusable, and you'd forget that you should have been looking up a headlight procedure. So
exactly.
we look up everything every time on every car.
Every car, every time, and you don't print, you don't save.
You go back
I
to
mean, you
it.
can print when you're working on the car,
Yeah.
but you're not going to save it for later reference for 6 months from now. That's why these websites, if they make changes, they update them.
Yeah.
And it's all pretty dynamic.
So Subaru's kind of new to the certification game.
Yep.
So they're really kind of just now getting kicked off.
Yep. January 1st, which is just a few short days away.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Well, so January 1st is when it's set up for open, independent shop
Right.
enrollment. And so Subaru Certified Collision.com. How you sign up is down here. You send an email to info@SubaruCertifiedCollision.com, and they will get back to you on how to jump into the system.
Maybe.
So
Maybe.
they're going to have. They're going to have, and I was talking to John at Subaru this morning. He said, "Yep, we're good to go. January 1st, we're set to kick off."
Maybe.
So send it there. It'll set up to go. Now this program's a little bit different. Now everybody's kind of throwing their own little twist. So when you sign up for the Subaru Certified Collision, it does come with a subscription. What you're paying, it does come with a subscription to their technical information.
So
There's no excuse.
Okay. So what's it going to cost me to be a Subaru shop?
I don't have the exact number, but I
Okay.
believe it's 3,000.
Somewhere around 3,000.
Yeah, about
All right.
3,000.
But if I bought a year's worth of subscription, that'd be $2,400.
Right.
Okay.
So it's
So I get that.
Yeah.
Okay.
part of it. Yep.
Okay.
And then one of the other things that they have added to it, which is kind of cool.
My baby.
This is your favorite thing in the entire
My
world.
favorite thing in the entire world. And I have a long history. So, I mean, everybody knows I have a very long and deep love affair with Autotex, even though nobody likes it, I think, but me sometimes. But Autotex has a program that belonged, they bought it. It actually belonged to a friend of mine, called AutoWatch.
Yep.
And my history with AutoWatch goes way back when we were using it as a DRP tool for one of the insurers. Don't growl at me. For one of the insurers. And the reason I loved this is that as a DRP director, I had some good people. I had some bad people that were field directors or field managers and the ones out in the shops or
Yep.
whatever. But what AutoWatch allowed me to do was every shop in the entire DRP program had to upload every day every vehicle that was in their shop being worked on. So you were supposed to go around and take status pictures of me. Were there ways around it? Sure there were.
Could you cheat it? Sure.
Yeah, but I could go in there in what was called the back room and set a parameter, any estimate that was over $7,000 anywhere in the network flagged for me to look at.
Yep.
And I would go, it's day 10, and I would want to go look at what that was doing. And
Yep.
were you if you were cutting that quarter panel off, were you doing it right? And I know a lot of people are like, I don't think a customer really wants to see their vehicle in that status. Well, what we learned back then through the insurance side was, and we kind of worried about that too, are the customers going to get mad or worried that their car's in such cut apart condition? They loved it.
Yeah.
It also helped have conversations better. It helped them understand why it was taking 15 days. When you had a TV show on the TV at that time, Chip, I used to yell at him all the time because he'd do a car in 7 days, but he had 50 people and they worked around the clock. So you'd have people watch a TV show, goes, well, they can fix a whole car in 7 days. Why is it taking you 3 weeks to put my quarter panel on?
Because there's 6 guys sanding the door panel. That's why.
Right.
Well, the other thing that's happened. So I grew up in Seattle, land of Microsoft, and back when this first came out, I remember that in the shops that had this, these guys at Microsoft were going, hey, gather around, check out my car. It's over at ABC Body Shop.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So it was good advertising for the shops,
It's fantastic. Yeah, and the original, AutoWatch, cprogress.com, the original company of this, and Dave, they had a way that the shops that were on it could link it to their social media, and customers could share their car, go, oh my God, check out my car, look at it. It had great effects. But for an OE, I always said when I first met Dave at the very first NACE he exhibited at, he was marketing that program to body shops, and, and when I met him, I was like, this is not a body shop program, this is an insurance company program. Right. And it very much is an OE program. So if the OEs are going to get into certified repair, I think every OE, I don't care whether you're Porsche or whether you're General Motors, I think this program ought to be on everybody's.
Absolutely.
Everybody. So I'm so super proud of Subaru for noticing it, what it does. I'm proud of what Autotex has put into this, and I can't kind of really wait to see this roll out, because now you got to take a picture of what you're doing. You better think twice, because you don't know which ones I'm looking at.
Well, and on top of that, can I sit behind a desk, or you sit behind a desk going, okay, the instructions say this, and that picture shows that. I mean, it's pretty clear on, are you fixing the car the way you're supposed to fix the car?
Right. It also gives me a great tool. If that car comes into me for a PRI, and I know it was a Subaru, and it was at a Subaru repair facility, I'm going to ask the customer to go download all their pictures.
Yep, and these are the pictures. Now, I'm a little concerned about this one, because it says right here, somewhere in here, it says that the vehicle's in paint, and that's the picture. So I'm not sure if that's okay. Well, it's actually in the paint department there. But you start to see the progress photos that are in there, and this is discoverable. Yeah,
so it was good for me, as in I could, in the back room, and I know that, the customers never see the back room, but, and I don't know what Subaru's back room looks like, or if it's different from what mine was in the insurance industry, but cars were color coded for me. I could tell when the car was behind. It let me know that I had red, green, and yellow, red cars I needed to look at. Certain dollar amounts were flagged to me to look at. I could flag certain procedures because the estimate marries with that. So anything that came in with a frame labor rate or whatever. There were so many things I could do to go in and look at this stuff. But you've got a piece of paper. It's going to drive you, and as you're going around every day taking your pictures and you're changing where it's at, it's updating to the customer what status this vehicle is in a repair process.
Where is it? Right here.
You can see where you're at. It updates your anticipated delivery date. You can immediately contact your assigned representative at the shop. You don't have to call the shop and go, hey, how's my car doing, or whatever. If you pull up a picture and you don't like something as a customer, or you're concerned, or maybe the delivery date's changed or whatever, boom, from that app right into it, you can immediately send them a note. And you also get a continuing customer satisfaction survey score. So this is the other thing I loved about AutoWatch, is that CSI was huge for the shops back then. A lot of times we were surveying someone 2 to 3 weeks after the vehicle had left the shop. I can't fix it. Then the car's gone. It's already
if the
delivered.
car's going in 4 days and they check that they are far below their expectation,
right, I can fix it.
You got a chance to fix it.
Right. So when this happens, if the customer, scores you at a certain level below, you instantaneously get notified you got an unhappy customer. So this isn't 4 weeks after the car is delivered, and now you're trying to call that customer back and going, oh my God, what's wrong? Well, you didn't do my radio stations, or my door handle doesn't work, or all the other things that are wrong that a customer never comes back for. That you can know right away what's going on. And shops that use this back then, and like I said, this was, God, I've been doing collision up 10 years. So this was 10, 12 years ago when we were using AutoWatch in the insurance industry. The shops that did it had an immediate uptick in their CSI.
Well,
I don't want to say that
Dave brought this out in what, 2003?
Yeah.
This is not new.
Oh yeah, no, and he was way ahead of his time when he brought it out. I'm not sure why more than Nationwide didn't adopt AutoWatch and use it as much as they should have. For all the things that I did not enjoy at my time at Nationwide, this was one of the things that I truly, truly loved. And like I said, I don't know why every OE is not using it. And if you're not using it as an OE, I can't think of a single good excuse you have for not using it.
I have a question though. Why is one of the greatest quarterbacks ever driving a Subaru?
Because he's got
Is
taste.
that like a good
He lives in the
indication.
mountains.
He
No,
doesn't
Joe
live in the
Montana's a city in Montana. Joe.
It says welcome, Joe Montana. So
Well, he likes Subaru. He probably owns a Subaru
I don't know.
dealership.
I
It
mean-
wouldn't surprise me. I mean, John
You think he
Elway
owns a
owns one,
Subaru
doesn't he?
dealership? I
I'm
don't
pretty
know.
sure
Let me
John
Google.
Elway owns one because
Yeah.
he skis, right?
Yeah.
Elway
Okay.
owns a bunch of dealerships.
So we can
That I'm
talk.
getting sued for.
So we can talk. so we can talk
I just thought
all
it was
day
funny to
long.
use the name Joe Montana.
I mean, we can talk all day long about Subaru and all the
Yeah.
different things. I think we can come to a consensus, though, that Subaru, they have a fantastic website.
Mm-hmm.
They have a fantastic information that's in there. You just got to read it. I know you got to read, Larry. It's the way it is. The information's in there. Yeah, it costs a little bit of money, but having that customer that is, or the client, or the guy just walking across the street, not get run over, is that worth $34?
Yeah. Yep.
Or whatever it is.
Yep.
And if you're certified, it's part of your program, et
Oh,
cetera.
the other thing we didn't talk about, Mark, I don't want to say go back, but so in addition to having to use auto watch as part of the requirement,
Yep.
if you are one of the shops and you sign up to be a Subaru, you will participate in their Love campaign. So you will pick a charity.
Yep.
And you will do charitable
Yep.
work as a body shop in
Absolutely.
the community. So
Yep.
not only do they want you to fix their cars right, they want you to make the world a better place.
Yep.
So
That's
kudos.
pretty cool.
I know. I'm excited.
Yeah.
There's some things going on throughout the year. I mean, I'm going to be on your back about, and I'm going to be, making sure repair quality is where it needs to be.
Yeah.
But this is a big step because
Yep.
there's no way you can monitor repair quality through an estimate. I don't
Nope.
care what artificial intelligence or what you do. If you
Nope.
could monitor repair quality through estimates, then the insurance industry DRP market would have
would've
been
done it a long
bad.
time ago.
Yeah. So auto watch. I'm excited.
Yep. Awesome.
So kudos.
So, great stuff.
All right. Well, it wraps up a year of OE.
Yeah.
This is a sneak peek at what next year's going to look like. A lot more active, a lot more bringing
hands-on
in.
stuff we're going to show.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to drag in wrecked cars. We're going to blueprint them through the OE process. You're looking up the procedures, and you're going to watch the pain.
We're going to let Larry use tools.
Yeah, no.
No, okay.
I don't have enough insurance. I have to pay my legal bills. So insurance is out. But we're going to do a lot more hands-on. Repair University will go a lot more hands-on next
Yep.
year as well. So
Yep.
we're going to get a little shorter on repair use. They're not going to take an hour to an hour 20.
Right.
But we're going to get more detail. So thanks for coming, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have a Merry Christmas, because this is airing after Christmas, but
Yep.
we're
It's airing after Christmas?
Yeah.
Oh, hope it
2 days
also
after.
so
we hope everybody had a great Christmas.
Wait,
but
wait,
have
we
to say
didn't
Merry
fast forward that
Christmas.
because we're there, not here.
yeah.
Right? Does
Yeah,
that
you're
make
there.
sense?
You're
We're here.
involved.
Can you fast forward that like the Spaceballs? I can't breathe with this on. That movie was great. Although I had a girlfriend one time watching when she
No, you
goes, that
didn't.
movie
No, you
didn't
didn't.
make sense to me. I was like, but it's all about Star Wars. I was like, no wonder it didn't make sense to you. So I guess it's
Merry
Happy
Christmas
New Year.
and Happy New Year.
Well, no, we hope you had a happy and Merry New Year, Merry Christmas.
Happy Christmas and a Merry New Year.
Yeah,
And Happy New Year's coming up.
Happy New Year's coming
Okay,
up.
so I'm just going to tell you, if you missed the live show last week and you're just now watching the OE show, go back and watch the live
Yeah.
show. And
Can't
you
we
will
rewind
understand.
and go see that? Because if we're ahead of the live show, wouldn't we go?
Oh, I should have never brought eggnog to the set. I'm just saying. Okay, thanks for joining, and we'll see you in
Thanks.
2019.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.